All right, we're going to start out with Keir Starmer.
News from the UK.
Who must go? Hasan must go. Who must go? Keir Starmer must go. All right, I got to pee real quick.
Keir Starmer, after just 2 years in office, he made the announcement this morning at his official residence. Chris Livesay is outside Parliament in London. Chris, good morning.
Good morning, Vlad. Well, that pressure had been mounting on Keir Starmer for weeks. As recently as Friday, he remained defiant and said he wasn't going anywhere. But this morning, things changed. Just a couple of hours ago, that defiance was gone. Britain is due for its 7th prime minister in only 10 years.
Every decision I've taken has been about putting the country I love first. That is why I will resign as leader of the Labour Party.
When Keir Starmer led the Labour Party to a landslide victory in 2024, many Britons thought the country's revolving door of prime ministers had finally stopped spinning. Instead, there it twirls again. Britain's economy has remained sluggish. Many voters are still struggling with high prices, high taxes, and overstretched public services. Labour's poor showing in recent local elections only deepened concerns, while the anti-establishment Reform UK, led by Nigel Farage, has surged in the polls.
My mother would be proud.
Starmer has also been damaged by the controversy surrounding the former UK ambassador to the US, Peter Mandelson, and renewed scrutiny of his ties to Jeffrey Epstein. And he's faced repeated mockery from President Trump.
And, unfortunately, Keir is not Winston Churchill.
Over the weekend, MPs from Starmer's own party continued to publicly call for him to resign and make way for a newly re-elected MP, the former mayor of Manchester, Andy Burnham.
And that's the kind of change we need to, a change in our politics to make it work again for people.
Now, unlike an American president, a British prime minister can effectively be fired by members of his own party. That's regardless of election timetables, leaving voters without their say. Keir Starmer's departure marks a historic period of instability for one of America's closest allies. Matt?
Chris Livesay in London. Thank you, Chris.
And here is the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. 7 in 10. 7 in 10. A state of disarray. Keir Starmer is out. And he's at number 10 Downing Street, coming out of that room, perhaps for the last time, to deliver his resignation speech. Now, what does this mean for the future of the Labour Party? Why did this happen? Why did you lie about the UK grape report? Was it cause they banned you, dog zapper? The grape report. I think these are some of the most malleable people of all time. Brother, you are, I want to say you're sheep, but you're not even sheep. You know what I mean? You're like a amoeba. It's so easy to manipulate you. It's unbelievably easy to manipulate you. And it's always people who think that they're actually free thinkers, they're not sheep. It's incredible. They just dangle a little bit of red meat in front of your eyes, maybe jingle some keys. And that's it. That's your primary focus. They literally turn around and Rupert Lowe, one of the dumbest in British politics, can come out and be like, yeah, we compiled a rape report. Yeah, it turns out all the rapes in the UK is so Muslim, man. And you're like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. I was already fearful of Islam. It turns out everyone that was ever doing a rape in the United Kingdom was actually Muslim. Look at that. I will not be questioning. I will not be questioning the veracity of these claims being made. Yeah, that's why 87% of sexual assault cases are white. Guys, those are fake and those should be allowed, yeah? It's only the Muslimic style sexual assault violations that we should be prosecuting because I don't care about actual sexual assault. I just care about making sure that we have sufficient cause for deporting the Muslims, yeah? It turns out you can get away with whatever you want. You can make claims about whatever you want as long as you're making them about Muslim people, and these guys will eat it up. Yes, dude. Muslims are also stealing all of your funds. They're actually being put in luxury five-star hotels, fine dining accommodations, all halal, of course. And that's the reason why your trains aren't running on time. That's the reason why you haven't had a decent job in decades. It's because the Muslims came in, and Keir Starmer, who is obviously secretly Muslim, has continued that process, just like the past 14 years of Tory leadership that actively wanted to take money away from you and give it to the Muslims directly. It's true. This is actually happening, and I support it. I love it, and I support it, and we should do more of it, honestly. Yeah. Islam, also a reason why you don't have a girlfriend. Think about that. 1 in 5 people arrested over 2024 riots have since been reported for domestic abuse. Wow. Yeah, but that kind of domestic abuse is all right? When England isn't winning, for example, that's the type of domestic violence that is as British as jelly ew. You know? Yeah. A bunch of plunkers. As British as Bangor and Mash. As British as a Prime Minister resigning in disgrace after a short tenure. Speaking of short tenures of deeply unpopular British Prime Ministers, Keir Starmer expected to announce his resignation at number 10 Downing Street. No one said that white don't do it, but why do you deny that they do it as well? Did I say that? Did I ever say that, like, Muslims are incapable of doing sexual assaults? I didn't say that at all. I simply said that report makes it seem, or heavily implies, through fake numbers for the most part, that the overwhelming majority of rapes, if not the entirety of rapes, because it's 87% of the inquiry's focus is Islamic style rape, right? It's ridiculous. The overwhelming majority of sexual assault crimes that are committed on British soil are committed by white people. And you're over here trying to make it seem like it's a Muslimic style rape that's taking place. That's the entire purpose of the inquiry. That's what I'm opposing. I'm not opposing the notion that, like, a specific group of individuals, given their race or their religion, are incapable of committing rape. I've never said that. And even the per capita argument doesn't make sense either, because of the if you want to make the correct per capita assessment, you have to make it off of the same age and same demographics. Okay? A lot of the Muslim refugees that come into the country are usually very young. They are far more likely to be in the age bracket that is overrepresented in violent crimes. If you look at the white demographic and adjust it to the same age bracket that the majority of Muslim refugees are, you will realize that the white predisposition towards violence and crime, violent crimes in particular, is still higher per capita than the Muslim refugee proclivity towards crime and violent crime is. This is how you do appropriate statistical analysis. Not that I care about it, because I don't think that we should be looking at entire races, or we should be deciding that, like, entire races of people are actually readily available to do crimes. That's not how I do politics. That's not how anyone should do politics. That's how you arrive at eugenics. But even if you were to do the appropriate statistical analysis, you'd arrive at the same conclusion that the actual numbers guys have arrived at, which is that if you adjust, and this is before you even adjust to obviously finances, Because that's how you're supposed to actually conduct. If you want to do like real race realism, if you want to do real race science, and this is precisely the reason why race science is debunked, you have to actually not look at like all black people or all Muslim people versus all white people. That's not how you would conduct a real study on the matter. You would have to look at and adjust for financial predicament, like financial circumstances, socioeconomic conditions. You would have to look at age. You would have to look at gender. And when you actually adjust for those exact same factors, you will find that when you control those variables, you will find that the Muslim population is not in any way, shape, or form more likely to do crimes than the white British population. Now, what's actually interesting about it is that the white British population has a higher likelihood of committing crime than the Muslim population. Do you know why that's the case, if adjusted for all of those other variables? That's because the British population, and this is the same exact thing that comes out in the data in America as well, the Muslim refugee population unconditionally across the board, regardless of their financial circumstances, are obviously a little bit more careful about violating the rules because they don't want to get deported. That's it. That's the same exact reason why, if you look at the data in the United States of America, the undocumented and documented migrant population is responsible for less crimes per capita than the natural-born U.S. population actually is. It's not even close, as a matter of fact. It turns out it's because people are a lot more careful and a lot less interested in doing crimes, regardless of their financial circumstances, when they know that the punishment for said crime, no matter how small, is deportation. Anyway, let's get to this who just had to resign in disgrace.
Thank you. Thank you. Walking up this street 2 years ago was the proudest moment of my life. A new Labour government, the first in 14 years. A page in our country's history turned after years of disappointment and despair. The chance to change the lives of millions of people for the better. That's what I came into politics for. The journey to that point was not easy. 6 years ago, I inherited a Labour Party that was politically, financially, and morally bankrupt. I was told time and time again that my party was finished, that we were consigned to history, that a majority
and it was
at
true.
the general election, let alone a...
By the way, saying that he inherited a morally bankrupt Labour Party is gross and disgusting. He is the one who is responsible for the moral bankruptcy of Labour. Okay, trying to make it seem like this was in the hands of Jeremy Corbyn is nasty business. Okay, it's totally ahistorical. It's totally nasty business. You are the one who killed the Labour Party. Okay, and you were actively trying to kill the Labour Party while Corbyn was the leader of the Labour Party. And as a gift for your initiatives, you actually got the leadership role within the Labour Party.
landslide majority.
Much like Israel, Keir Starmer here got everything he wanted. But the problem is his success meant the demise of Labour. That was the cost. And it got to such a terrible situation that he has to now resign in disgrace.
Was impossible. But we proved those people wrong because we changed our party, ripping out the poison of anti-Semitism, restoring trust on the economy, defense, and national...
Yes, I think his resignation is not good for the Greens because Andy Burnham can present himself. If he plays his cards right, he could present himself as a more progressive figure, even though he actually isn't. And if he does that, then he can restore some of the confidence back in Labor and only chip away at the growth that the Greens have actually acquired.
Security, and becoming a party that once again stood proudly with, not against, our national flag. The hard work of change was with a singular purpose, not power for power's sake, but to change Britain for the better, to build a fairer country with dignity and respect, where everyone is seen, everyone is valued, wealth and opportunity for all, not just the privileged few. And look at what we've achieved in just 2 years. An economy that is stronger, growing.
Dude, this is such a funny resignation speech because like the entire purpose behind why you're delivering this speech is because you suck. Is because the Labour Party sucks and you suck and you are responsible for the Labour Party sucking. So anything you say here is just going to be, oh, things are so great, which is why I'm finally tendering my resignation. Really? Yeah. Migrant hatred stoked, Palestine protesters arrested, conceded ground to the far right, Palantir Face ID implemented, leftist purge from Labour. Yep, it must be Starmer. Again, suffering from his success. If Keir Starmer's goal as a secret agent of reactionary forces was to eviscerate the formerly robust labor movement in the country, then yeah, he succeeded. He succeeded in spectacular display. He succeeded tremendously. If his goal was to restore power to labor, then he failed. That's why he's resigning.
Faster than our peers. Wages rising faster than inflation in every single month since we came to power. Investment secured, infrastructure being built. An end to austerity, with the fastest fall in NHS waiting lists for 17 years. The biggest improvement in rights for workers and renters in a generation. The biggest uplift in defence spending since the Cold War. Small boat crossings fall.
Wow, incredible. The biggest uplift in defense spending since the Cold War. What a resounding success that is. Dude, it's literally, this is the problem. It's part of the problem. Your ambitions lie elsewhere. You had no interest in fixing any of the crises that the former Tory governments had created, specifically born out of austerity. Keir Starmer could have ended child poverty, homelessness, and the grotesque levels of inequality in this country. Instead, he abandoned those in need, destroyed our civil liberties, and facilitated genocide in Gaza. That is how this prime minister will be remembered. And that is the legacy and moral and political bankruptcy he leaves behind. The crises in our society are not going away, neither are we, and we will keep fighting for a more equal, peaceful, and dignified society for all. Honestly, there's a warning here for the Democrats as well. A warning that they will not heed. Okay? This is the exact direction that the Democrats are headed down. This is exactly what the Democrats are doing as well. The single good accomplishment he listed that he didn't fabricate, lifting the 2-child benefit cap, was something he opposed and purged members over as soon as Labor won. Zara Sultana says, history will judge Keir Starmer as a man who lied his way to the top of the Labour Party and then used that power to evoke Enoch Powell with the island of strangers, keep children in poverty, attack disabled people, scapegoat refugees, strip back civil liberties, and hand our public services to Palantir. A man who gave the top diplomatic job to the best pal of a convicted pedophile, said Israel has a right to cut off water and electricity to Gaza, rolled out the red carpet for Israeli war criminals, and kept the weapons flowing to the Israeli military as it committed genocide. Good riddance. It's just, it doesn't... I don't know how people don't see it. Starmer's legacy is genocide. That's literally all I can think about. I pray that he's tortured by this fact for the rest of his life. Next stop, The Hague.
Is responsible.
Here, by the way, this is literally him saying, like, Israel has a right to cut off electricity to the children of Gaza, water to the children of Gaza.
I'm very clear. Israel must have that, does have that right to defend herself, and Hamas bears responsibility.
A siege is appropriate. cutting off power, cutting off water? Sir Keir?
Well, I think that Israel does have that right. It is an ongoing situation. Obviously, everything should be done within international law, but I don't want to step away from the sort of core principles that Israel has a right to defend herself and Hamas bears responsibility for these terrorist acts. And I would call on all responsible states, particularly Middle East responsible states, to call this out for what it is and to stand with the world in condemning, utterly condemning these actions by...
Human rights lawyer, by the way. Just a dog. Just a servile dog to Israel. Okay? And that's one of many issues that Keir Starmer had with his leadership of labor. It's a litmus test. It's perhaps the most immoral. It's the most obvious inconsistency with any kind of like humanitarian principles that you abide by, supposedly, as a leader of a Western liberal nation. But that's why I always say Israel is a phenomenal litmus test to help you develop a better understanding of where these guys' loyalty is. Saying herself a enemy, yeah, that's how you can identify someone being an ultra-Zionist too. Referring to Israel as her. I only hear that from, people, not even just like regular Israelis, but like Israelis who are really, really into Israel.
Asylum hotels closing, protecting young people from social media.
Asylum hotels closing. Oh my God. Even in his resignation speech, he's leaning into far-right nonsense.
And 500,000 children being lifted out of poverty because of the choices that I made. Our reputation in the world restored, with Britain once again standing up for decency, respect, and the rule of law. Securing trade deals, standing with Ukraine, standing up for our values, and rebuilding our relationship with our allies in Europe. Change promised.
God, I hate him so much. He's just such an animal, dude. He is such a piece of shit. Boiled excrement. Just nothing redeemable about this man. No riz, no charisma whatsoever, and his worldview is so broken, so flawed. Is he actually mentally impaired? I think this level of zealotry demonstrated towards a defense of neoliberalism at a time when liberalism is in crisis once again is mental impairment. Like, he is such a loyal servant of capital that it does come across like he's mentally impaired. Like, it doesn't make sense. You're like, what are you talking about? Oh, really? Oh, really? You brought back international law? Dog, you had the Israeli president. You rolled a welcome mat for the Israeli president. What the fuck do you mean? You actively flew to Cyprus, where the Royal Air Force base is, and you celebrated the British Royal Air Force's surveillance operations and targeting operations that were aiding and abetting the Israeli genocide of Palestinians, and now aiding and abetting Israel's war crimes in Lebanon. No one believes this shit. No one. Especially because the right-wing reactionary forces like the Tommy Robinsons of the world don't like you anyway. The Israeli agents on the far right that the Israeli government is funding, okay, and facilitating to disrupt normal British existence, to foment hatred towards Muslims, those guys will never f with you. So who is this for? You went on LBC and you said it's okay that Israel is starving an entire people. And that was early on. Yeah, he defended one of the Fairford Five as a lawyer. He was a human rights lawyer. He successfully defended the exact same kind of action that the Palestine action was committing against the Iraq war. When he was a lawyer, he successfully defended his client from prosecution for engaging in the exact same kind of direct action that, as the leader of labor, he turned into a prescribed terrorist action. It's insane. Okay, you said America deserved 9/11. What the does that have to do with anything? Are you a defender of Keir Starmer? What's happening? What does this have to do with anything? How is you rehashing something that was addressed in 2019 that people still voluntarily misunderstand have to do with Keir Starmer's resignation after his dog tenure? Do you even like Keir Starmer?
By a Labour government. Change fought for by a Labour government. Change delivered by a Labour government. But I know the question being asked now is not who was best placed to change the Labour Party, to take us into power and to begin the vital work of improving lives for millions of people. Those questions...
Abe Lovely sends his regards. True. Abe Lovely, one of the biggest, one of the most vindicated men in Europe, in the entirety of the European continent,
have been answered. The question my party is asking now...
It's funny because, like, he's trying to say, look, I know I'm resigning in disgrace, but I did a lot of great things too, remember? And because he's done zero great things, virtually everything he brought up are part of the reason why he had to resign. They're either completely antithetical and completely the opposite of what he did in his leadership role, you know, advancing human rights or whatever the he was claiming, or they're capitulations to right-wing framing on issues that are incredibly reactionary, incredibly racist, with no real purpose. He did not win anybody over with these actions. Like, oh, the asylum seekers, we've destroyed their hotels. There's no more hotels for asylum seekers. Like, when he says stuff like that, you have to wonder, like, who is this for? Who is this for? Are you winning favors with the far right? Because they're the ones who are advancing this. They're the ones who are freaking out over it. They're the ones who have raised the salience of this supposed issue. When the real issue is the economic struggles that regular working class folk experience in the UK. Like, who is this for?
Is whether I am best placed to lead us into the next general election. I have heard the answer of my parliamentary party to that question, and I accept that answer with good grace.
Yeah. Starmer was the model embodiment of a Tandon, Near-Tandon, Matt Iglesias, Jonathan Chait vision for liberal governance. Purge anyone left of you and treat them with disdain, while abandoning all campaign promises and moving rightward, which failed to appeal to the conservatives and only emboldened the fascists. This has been my warning in perpetuity at this point. I've been screaming about this rightward shift in center-left governance in Europe specifically, but also within the Democratic Party here in the United States for a decade. And all we have gotten in that same time frame is moving further and further, the Overton window shifting further and further to the right, which has only galvanized and emboldened the far-right fascist forces. I've been saying this for a decade now, okay? This was also my direct warning when Keir Starmer won, if you recall. At the time, I was in Croatia. And I said, if Keir Starmer does not fix these issues, here it is. Hasan in 2024 correctly predicted the downfall of Keir Starmer and the rise of Reform UK. If Keir Starmer continues with austerity, privatization, and conservative policies with a red sticker, we're talking Reform UK, Reform takes over, You're staring down fascist mobilization in the UK like you've never seen before. I really, really, really hope I'm wrong, but I'm telling you right now, it feels like we're at the precipice. If Keir Starmer continues with austerity, if Keir Starmer continues with privatization, if Keir Starmer continues with conservative policies with a red sticker on it, okay? I'm telling you, if he does that, we're talking Reform UK, whatever the fuck it is. Maybe Reform takes over the Conservative Party entirely. Maybe it's just simply Reform. You're staring at the barrel of a gun, okay? You are staring down fascist mobilization in the UK like you've never seen. I really, really. Yeah, and lo and behold, that is precisely what happened, okay? That was a warning in July 2024, but that warning was not first addressed in July 2024. Throughout my career as a political commentator, I have issued this warning about the rise of fascism in Europe over and over again. That's why you can go back to 2020 and you'll hear similar things that I've said. You can go further beyond 2020 and hear the exact same shit. It appears a foregone conclusion that the British Labour Party is about to take the path blazed by Obama, squandering a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Yes. Yes. Anyone with political analysis worth its salt is going to see this. That's why I always say it's not unique to just myself or Michael from Pennsylvania. All you have to do is be honest. Okay? All you have to do is be honest. Another famous moment was when Hillary Rodham Clinton looked at the European center-left, supposed center-left parties, and urged them to capitulate to right-wing framing on immigration. Hillary Clinton said that was the right move. If you recall, this was like back in 2020, I believe. It was even earlier than that. Maybe even like in the 2016 cycle too. And I kept repeatedly saying over and over again that this is a horrible mistake. All you will do is galvanize the right. You won't win any votes, and you'll just legitimize the grievance. A grievance born out of complete hysteria. This is why I started watching you. I've been saying this exact same shit about Starmer, but my immediate environment never agreed, and I'm not a streamer, so no one gives a shit at all, yet here we are. Well, I am a streamer, and no one still seems to give a shit. But yes, this is the third way method. This is the neoliberal method. Okay? And I don't know anymore. Maybe these guys are genuinely in the pocket of the far right. Like, I always assume that it's part stupidity, part negligence, and it's not a deliberate attempt to generate a fascist right-wing mobilization in the country. But it's getting to a point where it's impossible not to notice that all of the center-left parties would rather engage in appeasement to the fascist forces and offer legitimacy to their hysterical race baiting than actually solve these economic problems that people are experiencing that cause this volatility, that cause this anger and resentment amongst the masses, that make them more malleable, make them easily duped by these far-right forces that will turn the blame over to migrants. It's hard for me to look at this failure and then look at the Democratic Party here in the United States of America lean into the exact same failures, regardless of the lessons that they could be learning here from the labor defeat, and assume that they're not doing this on purpose. You understand? Sometimes it comes across like they are doing this on purpose, that they're engaging in this unbelievably cynical trade, that they'll capitulate to right-wing framing on racialized hysteria with the hopes that when the fascist forces come into power, they'll spare these liberals. History shows us that they will not be spared either. The only thing Keir Starmer has to his name is a more surveilled British internet, a prescription of anti-genocide protesters, pensioners being arrested for showing support to anti-genocide protesters, and a pandering to fascist forces on the issue of immigration. No solutions to the economic struggles that people face, and just a steady pivot to the right. It's disgusting. Well, and then banning me as well. That was cool. That was very cool that he did that. Yeah. He was a servile little piggy to Donald Trump. He was a servile dog to Zionist interests on the foreign policy front. Nothing to write off. No accomplishments whatsoever. Just a servant of the Epstein class, through and through. Keir Starmer MP says, stop involving yourself in British politics. Nothing to do with you. I had to resign. I had no choice. I blocked you from entry, though. My number one achievement. Keir Starmer MP in the building, ladies and gentlemen.
Every decision I've taken has been about putting the country I love first. That is why I will resign as leader of the Labour Party. I have spoken to His Majesty the King this morning to inform him of my decision. I will ask the National Executive Committee of the Labour Party to set out a timetable with nominations opening on the 9th of July and completed by the summer recess. In the case of a contest, this will ensure a new leader is in place before Parliament returns in September. I will remain in post as Prime Minister until the contest is complete. And I will do everything I can to ensure an orderly handover of power. I will also give my successor my full and unequivocal support.
Yeah, Andy Burnham. Okay. Israel kicked him out. Too much writing. Israel was like, bro, enough. Chill out with the D writing, bro. You are not yet banned from Belgium. Please come to Belgium, march or protest with us, and come to the Manifiesta.
No,
I might go to Belgium.
Britain that is far stronger and fairer than the one I inherited 2 years ago, better prepared for the challenges ahead, and better able to ensure the Labour Party secures a second term in office. I want to thank all of those friends and colleagues who have been at my side for these past 6 years or so, for their incredible commitment, service and support. I want to thank the brilliant Number 10 staff and our country's extraordinary civil service who dedicate their lives to public service. And when I leave the biggest job in the country, I shall spend more time on the most important job, being the best husband I can to my fantastic wife, Vic, who has been a rock by my side through good times and bad.
Oh my God, he's about to cry. God, he is pathetic. I don't believe even for a moment that he is a human being, okay? I think he's a lizard person in a human skin suit. So spare me the tears, okay? Going back to my primary duty as a father and as a husband. Yeah, L husband, L father, just awful guy. Notorious cheater, by the way. Yeah, I know. That's how that when I first found out that Keir Starmer was potentially a notorious adulterer, like a serious adulterer, I could not believe it. Like, the dating pool in England is so busted that this guy, unbelievable. Probably the greatest L that the kingdom has seen thus far.
I'm being the best dad I can.
Yeah, who wants this, man?
My beautiful children, who are my pride and my joy. Thank you very much.